Europe's industries were once a source of pride for the continent, representing development, innovation, and economic strength. But today, such towering emblems show profound, worrying flaws. Germany's assembly lines are sputtering, steel mills are shutting down, and entire sectors appear to be on the verge of collapse. Despite the fact that warning signals are omnipresent, many people are still unaware of the true scope of this issue. But here is the reality. Europe's industrial dream is unraveling rapidly, and the consequences might transform not only Europe but the world economy. What caused this collapse, and how bad will it get? Let us break it down. Consider running a manufacturing that depends on steady energy costs. Factories that were previously thriving with productivity are now plagued by rising expenses. According to Reuters, rising energy prices continue to put pressure on sectors, particularly heavy ones, such as chemicals, steel, and automobiles. In Germany, Europe's economic center, entire sectors are doubting their viability. Energy is not just growing more costly, it is also becoming less dependable, and manufacturers cannot operate in an unpredictable environment. Result? Reduced production, closures, and job losses. What is the worst part? There's no simple solution in sight. Europe's campaign for sustainable energy was intended to be its redemption narrative. But even here, the fissures are visible. Consider Northvolt, the Swedish battery powerhouse. It was once hailed as a European success story, but it has now become a case study in dissatisfaction. Bruegel discusses how Northvolt's cost and competitiveness challenges have become a cautionary story for Europe's green industrial initiatives. The EU's ambition to be the world leader in sustainable energy is becoming reality. High expenses, sluggish approvals, and intense rivalry from the United States and China. If even Northvolt is failing, what does this mean for smaller businesses attempting to survive? The European steel sector is not just suffering, but also on the verge of collapse. Steel is the foundation of industry. Cars, construction, and manufacturing all rely on it. But Europe's steel sector is facing a perfect storm. High energy prices, inexpensive imports, and declining demand. Plants are shutting down, employees are being laid off, and executives are searching for answers. Without prompt action, Europe may lose a key component of its industrial foundation. It is difficult to repair those factories after they have been destroyed. What are the consequences? Devastating employment losses and weakened economies. Europe's automotive sector has long been a symbol of engineering prowess, but now it's in why? A lethal combination of tariffs, competition, and rising manufacturing costs. New tariffs imperil exporters. Furthermore, cheaper electric vehicles from China are flooding the market, making it difficult for European manufacturers to compete. Volkswagen, Stellantis, and other behemoths are trapped in a squeeze. And if Europe's auto sector fails, millions of jobs are at risk. Europe's supply systems are weak, as recent crises have cruelly demonstrated. The epidemic demonstrated how vulnerable industrial networks can be, with delays and shortages affecting everything from electronics to medications. Today, the crisis in Ukraine and relations with China pose additional concerns. Europe's reliance on imports for critical resources, such as semiconductors and rare earths, may destroy sectors if interruptions persist. Factories cannot function without consistent supply. A single bottleneck may stop whole manufacturing lines. And Europe's reliance on international partners is a ticking time bomb. Industrial decline is not Europe's main issue. Droughts, rising expenses, and worldwide competition are hurting Europe's agricultural sector. Fewer profitable farms equate to fewer raw materials for companies such as food manufacturing, packaging, and transportation. This agricultural conflict increasingly erodes Europe's economic foundation. Factory closures result in the loss of jobs. Europe must take decisive steps to avert widespread layoffs. Industries such as steel, automotive, and energy are losing jobs at an alarming pace. If job losses continue, Europe will experience a tsunami of unemployment that might destabilize entire towns. And these aren't just figures from a spreadsheet, they're actual folks and families. Europe was once the world leader in technical breakthroughs, ranging from manufacturing inventions to innovative research. However, a disturbing tendency has emerged. Europe's innovation engine is losing traction. While the United States and China make significant investments in artificial intelligence, robotics, and sophisticated manufacturing, Europe lags behind. According to Politico, the continent suffers bureaucratic roadblocks, delayed decision-making, and a scarcity of risk funding for businesses and research projects. The dearth of innovation threatens to render European industry outdated. Without cutting-edge technology, manufacturers cannot increase production or compete with global competition. Workers in Europe face the possibility of being replaced by cheaper, quicker, and more automated technologies from other places. If Europe fails to narrow the innovation gap, it risks permanently losing its competitive advantage. Factories will become museums of obsolete technology, a harsh reminder of missed chances. Europe's ambition to be carbon neutral by 2050 is both ambitious and vital. However, the green shift comes with significant expenses for industries. The quest to decarbonize requires firms to restructure their operations, invest in cleaner technology, and adhere to stringent environmental regulations. While the objectives are apparent, implementation is lacking. The shift is expensive, and many businesses simply cannot afford it. Experts point out that growing prices for renewable energy infrastructure and emissions rules are disproportionately affecting energy-intensive industries such as steel and chemicals. This has resulted in a dilemma. How can we keep green without pushing factories out of business? Meanwhile, other nations, such as China, continue to manufacture at cheaper costs and with weaker rules, placing Europe at a competitive disadvantage. If this balance is not achieved, Europe's lofty environmental aspirations may wind up hastening its industrial collapse rather than rescuing it. The European industrial crisis is much more than simply energy prices and competition. It is also a crisis of leadership. The continent's political environment is divided. Countries have their own priorities, and collaboration at the EU level is sometimes too sluggish to handle pressing issues. Europe's absence of a coordinated economic plan has left sectors in limbo. While the United States undertook strong efforts, such as the Inflation Reduction Act, to boost manufacturing, Europe's reaction has been fragmented and slow. Without strong leadership, industries are forced to fend for themselves. Investment plans are delayed, factories shut, and jobs are lost. To address its economic difficulties, Europe requires a clear and cohesive vision. However, that vision does not appear to be present at this time. If policymakers do not act quickly, Europe's industrial foundation will deteriorate, reducing its economic power. If Europe's leaders do not step up soon, the consequences might be disastrous. Entire sectors may evaporate, millions of people could lose their jobs, and Europe's global power could wane. A weaker Europe hurts more than just Europeans. It disrupts global trade, undermines alliances, and increases competing economies' strength. The stakes could hardly be greater. Europe's manufacturing aspirations hang by a thread. Signs are everywhere. Collapsing industry, increasing expenses, and politicians unable to move quickly enough. The signals are obvious, and the consequences are severe. The world is waiting to see whether Europe can muster the creativity, leadership, and vision required to save its industrial future. This is not only a European issue. A collapse here sends shockwaves through worldwide supply lines, economies, and marketplaces. The clock is ticking. And if these warning signs are disregarded, Europe's industrial history may become just that. A legacy is not a future. The issue remains. Can Europe wake up in time to rescue its factories? Is this the start of an irreversible decline? Stay tuned, since the next chapter in this crisis is now being written. If you found this analysis useful, remember to like and subscribe for more insights into the global economy. What are your thoughts on Europe's industrial collapse? Please share your ideas in the comments below.